Well, welcome on a rainy weekend in the East Central Plains of Kansas. Well, we needed the moisture, and it's not terribly cool. It's in the mid-50s here even at night for some nice walks. If you're walking and listening to us on the radio, or whether you're inside, you have joined KOFO's Sunday night prime time tonight, kicking off the Jacobson group here on KOFO 1220 1037 and KOFO.com. Listen live. Click that triangle arrow when you pull that up online. And, of course, this will be up on podcast. John Jacobson here with Sean Torres and our colleague, Coach Patrick J. Knapp Jr., the Georgetown legend, now the bon vivant at New Mexico State University, starting to call women's hoops again for ESPN3 and the Star of His Own podcast, play-by-play with Jerry Bouzone, at a podcast near you, including our link up directly to Coach's Show on our KOFO website, which goes to Franklin, Miami, Anderson, and Lynn counties, along with Johnson and Douglas, as we carry them throughout these East Central Plains as your big country music giant, as well as your home and away voice of the Royals, the Braves, and the Cyclones. And we are heading all the way over to the Kansas City suburbs of Olathe, to our college towns of Ottawa and Baldwin City, to the capital of Topeka, to the big Jayhawks center of Lawrence, and of course people by Emporia are Wildcat fans. Coach will talk about that game. We've got our Emporia listeners, as well as our Princeton, Paola, Gardner, Garnetto, Swatomie, Osage City, Linden, and Richmond folks, Rantoul and Williamsburg. Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Coach, let's take it away. Man, what a huge day in college football yesterday. College women's hoops begins almost as we speak. We've got Major League Baseball World Series, and we've got NFL today, plus the big tilt with the Wildcats, the Jayhawks yesterday. The habit has not been broken. Coach, I'll let you riff. Where do you want to tee off here on the front nine?
Well, to our listening audience, obviously, the Kansas State football game was competitive at first, but then became a little bit of a yawner. 42-17, K-State over Jayhawks. Avery Johnson, 11 for 17, passing, 1 rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns. The bottom line was statistics that dealt with turnovers, 2 fumble recoveries for K-State, 4 sacks. They controlled the line of scrimmage, they had 2 interceptions, and they had a plus 10 turnover margin the last 10 games K-State has. So that's all she wrote. Way too mistake-prone of a game for the Jayhawks. Jalen Daniels was running for his life. He was 17 for 35, 1 interception. He had 40 yards net loss, which means he was scrambling a lot and got sacked. We mentioned 4 sacks. Some interesting statistics, John, believe it or not, after that game. Kansas has a better percentage rate of getting to a bowl game than K-State does.
Amazing.
Based on the schedule, a 65% chance of getting to a bowl for the Jayhawks. While K-State has a 47.5% chance. You ask where I get these statistics?
Yeah.
Your friendly local AI on your computer.
Wow.
So whatever it is they know, we'll wait and see. But Chris Kleiman has been to a bowl 5 out of the last 6 years for the Wildcats. So the one thing we do know is the Big 12 is very competitive. There's a lot of surprises. BYU and Cincinnati are at the top of the league. Iowa State started off 5-0. Now they're 5-3. So there will be losses in the L column for somebody. But Kansas over K-State for a bowl game. How about that?
That's shocking, Coach. And the other stat that I found amazing, they kept trumping this on the Kansas City affiliates covering the game yesterday. 7 straight times, 17 consecutive years, 1-7, that Kansas has failed to upend K-State in this rivalry. That is a streak that's almost inconceivable to fathom, Coach. Not one
that is.
in 17 years.
Yeah, no, that is. I saw that on TV yesterday. I found it very hard to believe with the competitive nature of these two teams. K-State has the upper hand.
They really do. And, Coach, who'd have thought that after Iowa State beats Iowa in that heartbreaker in Ames for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Iowa starting out 3-2 with the Cyclones 5-0, that Iowa would become bowl eligible before the Cyclones. What a crazy year!
It is crazy. And Iowa, speaking of the Hawkeyes, they found some offense in their back pocket from somewhere yesterday.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. And 37 against Wisconsin. I'm just shocked at what we're seeing here. There's still 5-10. There's still 5 teams log-jammed, however, with the 5-2 conference records of the Big Ten. So we know we've got 2 playoff teams probably with Ohio State and Indiana. Coach, do you think another one from the Big Ten can slip in?
Yeah, I think Oregon is very highly respected by most pundits and the committee. I think that's where it will land. I don't have Oregon's schedule up here right in front of me, but they are.
They do have Iowa in Iowa City, which will be interesting.
Yes, that will be a good one. But you're right. Ohio State and Indiana are at the top of that list in terms of making the college football playoff.
Coach, a friend of ours, Scott Corey, said, well, so is Matt Rule going to coach the bowl game for Nebraska? Will he just head on over beforehand to Happy Valley? Is he trolling our Husker friends, or do you think Rule might be an odds-on favorite to get a call from Happy Valley to leave Huskerville?
I'm starting to get suspicious. I didn't like Matt's press conference a couple weeks ago, when he basically didn't say too much. Other than he loved the AD at Penn State, and he's working hand in hand with his AD at Nebraska to become elite. They need to recruit some game busters in Lincoln, both in the backfield and a wide receiver. I'm not a Dylan Raiola fan. I think he has a very slow release, a very slow ball. He may get better. I'm not going to knock him right now. He's played in, 17 or 18 college games. But I'm starting to get suspicious. There are way too many openings out there, and Matt Rule is going to be considered, I hate to say.
Yep, I think you're right. Speaking of slipping in, we want to acknowledge our great sponsors, Jim and Cindy Jandron from Mid-American Renewable Energy, LLC, up there in the Cornhusker State in southeast Nebraska. It's ethanol renewable fuels, clean energy, lean and clean and green, energy for a strong America. And also, Jim and Cindy helping to sponsor Life Runners, liferunners.org. They were just down in Atchison this morning, just down the road at Benedictine University for the end of their final leg of their marathon running across America for their Run for Life, their life relay, culminating here in Kansas at Benedictine. Congratulations to Dr. Pat Castle, the executive director of Life Runners, and all the people who participated. Really a great organization. They are building a culture of life, helping pregnant moms and their babies both before and after birth. LifeRunners.org. Go on the website and get your T-shirt and run and walk for life. Well, Coach, it's an NFL day, and a lot of teams are playing, and the Chiefs are going to square up here, too, and compete. The Chiefs have really turned it around in the last month. Talk to us.
Yeah, they're 4-1 in their last 5. They have a +2 turnover differential during that time, so they're winning that battle. They're also plus 632 yards differential, which means they're outgaining their opponents by 126 yards per game. KC has outrushed their opponents by 50 yards per game. Of course, up until recently, Patrick Mahomes was the reason for that. They play the Washington Commanders, John. Commanders are injured. Their Jaden Daniels, QB, is out. Washington is only 4.4 yards differential above their opponents in the last 5 games. Their turnover differential, however, is -6. They have 10 turnovers in the last 5 games. So the Chiefs will respond to that. Yards rushing, they're 29 yards above their opponents. They're getting out rushed. 29 yards per game, 721 to 692. Meaning that it really doesn't matter for the Chiefs. The Chiefs could run the ball, but they'll balance it out. Mahomes will have a big night, and I look for the Chiefs to win this one.
Yeah, I think you're right, Coach, and fans are happy here in Kansas City. And, it looks like they could make a deep run again after kind of a tough start at the beginning of the year. Who else in the NFL is really making waves in your mind, Coach?
Well, my Eagles are winning right now against the Giants. That'll if they do that, that'll solidify them, I think, as the number one team in the NFC. The other teams that I would watch for in the NFC happen to be out west. The 49ers are losing right now, but the bottom line is the Rams, I think, will be a big contender versus the Eagles, and we'll see where it goes out with the NFC. Out in the West, out in the AFC, that AFC West is the contending group. Obviously, the Chiefs, the Broncos have been strong lately, and watch for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh, now that their offensive line is healthy, to make a run. Out east in the AFC, I like the Patriots. Like Vrabel has them moving. Derek May is a strong quarterback. Vrabel has them playing great defense. And in that same division, of course, you will have Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I think that the AFC will be much more competitive, John, and the NFC has only a few very strong teams. One of them being the Chicago Bears, who have won 4 in a row, which is very interesting.
It is. Makes that old classic black and blue division very, very competitive here for the remainder of the season. Also, hey, guys, kudos to the Ottawa Braves. Their great homecoming win yesterday. Their last-minute heroics and their late touchdown puts the Braves in good shape here to still have a good shot at that winning season. Blake Griffin, superb job on the call, and we were so grateful to have Thomas Sober in the booth with some great color analysis as well. And it was wonderful to have University President Bambi Burgard on from the Ottawa campus with distinguished alumnus Jack Cassidy, international businessman. We also had offensive coordinator Terrence Anderson's kids were interviewing him in the post-game, his 11-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son, along with head coach Davis. We also had the women's flag football champion team stop up to make a pitch for attending their games. And we had a homecoming queen, Tiani Rollins, one of my great students, a great scholar, athlete, and a very worthy homecoming choice for Queen. Congratulations to Tiani Rollins. Coach, MLB. Wow. Dave Edwards, who was born in Japan, who has parentage of both African-American and Japanese lineage. What a managerial job he's done tapping into that great Japanese talent reservoir. Can you say Ohtani and Yamamoto? Wow. Ohtani and Yamamoto, what have they done so far in the postseason?
And Sasaki at the back end and the bullpen, which they didn't even have to use yesterday.
Yes.
I mispronounced his name last week. I apologize, but Sasaki comes in for an inning or two. Usually Roberts doesn't trust the core of the bullpen, so he stayed with Yamamoto 9 full. The Dodgers have very experienced bats, as everyone saw. It's 1-1. I believe Tyler Glass now is going to start Game 3 and Ohtani Game 4.
Wow.
I don't think it's been announced yet, but that's the rotation he's gone with in the playoffs right now. I'm not as familiar with the Toronto starters behind you, Savage and Gausman. And Gausman pitched pretty well for 6 innings. He made a couple mistakes, but he had the Dodgers. They had the Dodgers fishing. They were swinging out a lot of jumpers.
It was 1-1 late. Yeah. But boy, get 9 innings out of Yamamoto. That's icing on the cake. And so it comes to L.A. now, guys, after a couple games up in Toronto. Coach, it is hoops time. Our women basketball team joined our Tuesday night show, our local Ottawa Braves, home of the Braves show. And boy, we are close, aren't we, Coach?
Well, we are, John, and everybody's playing exhibitions this weekend and next. And again, as we stay local, we mentioned last week that Kansas men's basketball was at Louisville the other day, won 90-82. 8 guys played 16 or more minutes. Darren Peterson, who we mentioned last week, big-time freshman, 26 points, 6 for 10, 3. And then they got a lot of production from transfers. Trey White from Illinois had 14 points. Mel Council had 11. Now, Mel Council followed the trail of the modern-day transfer portal, John. He went to Wagner, then to Monroe Community College in upstate New York, then St. Bonaventure, and now he's in the backcourt for Kansas. So they played well against a good team. Yeah, they played well against a good Louisville team. Now, Kansas State, who has an immensely made-over roster, they lost 100-91 against Missouri. P.J. Haggerty, who we mentioned, transferred from Memphis, 23 points. Nate Johnson, who was the player of the year in the MAC from Akron, 14 points, 6 rebounds. They had 10 guys play 16 minutes or more. The bottom line in this game was K-State shot 15 for 21 from the free throw line. Missouri, 26 for 34. So they got outshot by 13 free throws. The rest of the stats were pretty even. So I'm sure that the K-State staff was not happy with the officiating, either that or Kansas State was fouling their rear end off. So there we have the two local teams, John.
Coach, as always, that's why you're an award-winning radio broadcaster, winning several first-place awards for best sports coverage in our regional competitions. And, guys, you can directly link to his podcast by going to KOFO.com, clicking on podcasts, and Sean Torres has that right up there, play-by-play with Patrick Knapp and Jerry Bousson. Coach, we're so appreciative again to the Jim and Cindy Janren family who sponsor us through Midwest Renewable Energy LLC, that ethanol renewable fuels, lean, clean, and green energy for a strong America, as well as, again, we'll congratulate Dr. Pat Castle and get him on for an extended interview here very soon. Their triumph with their Relay for Life, their long, multi-legged journey across America with young and old alike, running and walking for life, helping build a culture of life, helping those expectant mothers and their babies both before and after they are born. Congrats to Life Runners. Go to liferunners.org and get your T-shirt and run or walk for life. Guys, we going to fall back with the clocks. It's going to be dark when we come on the air next week at this time, and we will be through Halloween and into November, maybe the greatest sports month because we've got the intersection of so many great sports. Until we meet again, tell your friends about the podcast. Thanks to Coach Knapp and Sean Torres for the whole gang at KOFO 1220-1037. This is John Jacobson saying, be safe, be smart, be good, be strong, love Jesus Christ, and thank Him. And God bless us, everyone. Till we meet again, bye-bye.